So let's talk about hiking with kids. What do you suggest, like, if you're planning to take your kids out for the day and maybe it's going to be, it's going to be a couple-hour hike, what do you pack with you?
Welcome to the Explore Everywhere podcast, where we explore the world through hiking trails, go and see some amazing places, and meet the people who love and protect them. Welcome to the Explore Everywhere podcast, episode 21, and it's the first episode for the year 2021, which is fitting, and I didn't even plan it that way. This week's episode is actually me on another podcast. I got the chance this week to go on the Pickle Planet podcast by Jenna and Tosh out of the Moncton area. And it might also be posted on the Podcast Hub, and I'll have links for these below in the show notes. Podcast Hub is one done by Tosh out of the Albert County area, covers Albert County and all things Albert County. The Pickle Planet covers all things family-oriented in the Moncton area, so check them out. It's also going to be on Rogers TV on Monday evening. I think it's January 18th at 8:30 p.m. And thank you to Jenna and Tosh for giving me the opportunity to talk about trails, one of my favorite things to do. And on this episode, we talk about trails that are close to Moncton and also lots of trails in Albert County and also in the province. So we talk about a little bit of everything, and I could have talked for a lot longer. It was a great time. So enjoy this episode. Start off your 2021. Hopefully you're getting chances to get out, and we're going to try and help you do that this year because it's going to be an interesting year, and I think you're going to want to get out more than any other year. With that, here's the podcast.
Welcome to the Jenna and Tosh Show. I'm Tosh Taylor.
And I'm Jenna Morton, and today we are joined virtually because we're being safe by a guest that I think everyone is going to be so excited to meet the person behind the site, because I think over the last 10 years, James Donald has helped, I'm going to say, thousands of people get out and see more of this province.
Easily.
So welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah, the site we're talking about is Hiking NB. And I want you to start just by giving us a little bit of background, a little bit about what the site is about for someone who's watching or listening who might not have discovered you yet.
Hiking NB is, like you say, it's been something I started 10 years ago. Actually started thinking about it before that, but that's kind of when the technology all came together. It is my attempt to create a website for all the trails in the province with all the information. Photography is a big part of what I do, so lots of nice pictures, and actually get out and hike all the trails in the province. And it's hard because people keep building trails, which is good, but it keeps going. So, and like I say, it's been 10 years, and I think I have 481 trails that I've hiked so far and have on the website. So I'm getting close.
That's amazing.
Unreal.
And I have to say, I love, as someone who is not a hiker, as anyone who watches and listens regularly knows, I love, though, that I go on your site and I feel like I have the information I need if I want to go try something. And so I am so grateful and so impressed with how well you've managed to do that for someone who's even like me, who's like, I don't know what these things are and what I should do.
Yeah. I try to keep it simple because there's some people have perceptions that hiking is difficult and it can be a big challenge, but I mean, we classify it as every place that's made to take a walk, basically. That's everything from crushed rock trails in towns and cities to the big adventures in Fundy Park kind of thing. So cover the full gamut.
Excellent. This past summer, a girlfriend and I kind of made it a mission to take our kids out and go waterfall chasing and go trail chasing and whatever we could in New Brunswick this summer. And we did a couple of them on the advice of a couple of other websites that had, the wrong information. Like, not just like you get it right down to like the longitude and latitude and all of that jazz. Like, you put everything on there, but a lot of sites, anybody can go in and say, oh, it was this, or, oh, it was that. And there were a lot of trails where, like, we were dragging along 2 5-year-olds and 2 8-year-olds, And a lot of the trails that we did, you should not have been bringing small children on. Like they were
that's the
super
thing with some of
dangerous. Yeah.
with some of the group sites, everything gets put on there. So there's a bit of control on what I put on for trails. And there's always a question on, is this an official trail, or like, is it going to cause problems, people getting lost and stuff? There's some that are official trails that are just difficult too. So I try and explain those as best I can with a map. And I mean, it always surprises me to this day that to get out on trails and see maps that don't quite make sense.
Yeah.
They're very abstract versions of what's actually on the ground. So
very localized. Like turn at that tree with the knot in it halfway up. Yeah. Exactly.
But for the most part, most of the trails are easy to find and easy to go through. They're pretty well marked. So
I think part of what helps you to condense this in a way is, I mean, your sense of quality and ownership, that you need to get the right stuff out there, but you also do a lot of these trails with your family and with children involved, which I think that's like, if you can make something work for kids, you can make it work for anyone.
Yeah, well, we started this when the kids were young. I mean, the kids now, I have 4 kids between the age of 14 and 18, so they're starting to go in every different direction. So, but the good thing about hiking is I can do it with one of them or 4 of them or none of them, or it's very flexible activity. So, and when they're young, I sometimes was dragging them along, but now they look forward to it. So
that's funny. One of the trails that Jenna had been wanting to do, and I went and did in the spring, was the Sussex Bluffs. And she was like, do you recommend it for kids? And I was like, for some kids, they should be on a leash.
That'd be fine.
But I'm also afraid of heights. So like, you come out at the bluff and I was like hyperventilating, and my kids are like, it's cool, Mom. And I'm like, no, it's not.
It's almost worse because it's kind of rounded. So it kind of tapers off, like where some cliffs are just, where the edge is. That one's kind of, at what point does it become dangerous?
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's like, how far can we get out to take our awesome picture? And I was like, right here, we're going to stay on the trail.
Hold on to this tree.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just going to say the Bluffs is one of the probably the most recommended places in the province. It's amazing views up there.
It is stunning.
It's a pretty steady, easy hike too. So
is it something that's accessible in winter? Do you know? Is it cleared at all?
It's not really cleared, but I would guess there's enough traffic up. I don't know if I've ever been up there in winter, to tell you the truth, but I think there'd be enough traffic up there that would be pretty packed down, like for a trail up there.
I just know that it did get so popular this summer in particular, that the time when I finally did manage to get myself there to go do it, the parking lot was so full. And it's not even a parking lot, like the parking, but it was backed up. And I was just like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to come back another time. And it's not a weekend, maybe not so sunny.
Yeah. Everything's been like that this year. The website traffic's up. I think I just crossed over 782,000 page views, and a regular year's in that 450 to 500,000 range. So
holy moly.
Yeah. And it continues into January. Like it just continues going. So, and there's not that much snow. So there's not much for restrictions on accessibility yet that you'd need snowshoes. So
yeah, that's true. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about Fundy Park.
Yeah.
And anything down Albert County way, because if anybody watches this show or listens to this show, they know that I am the queen of Albert County, or self-proclaimed queen of Albert County.
Dictator.
And also a dictator, that's right. So let's start with Fundy. I'm going to put you on the spot. What is your favorite trail in Fundy?
Summer or winter? Or both?
Ooh, good.
Winter.
Okay, winter for now. Yeah.
Winter.
All right.
I would say they're all great. Probably my favorite is the Laverty Falls Moosehorn Loop because of the way the stream is and how you can swim there.
Yeah.
In the summer months. Definitely not in the winter months.
Yeah.
it's hard to access in the winter. Third Vault Falls is amazing too, the biggest falls in the park, but even stuff like Kinney Brook Trail is amazing for kids. It's kind of tailored towards kids because it's a pretty easy trail. It just has a long staircase down into the valley at the end, but it goes by these big rock spires and stuff, and it's really cool. So I'm always impressed when I get to some of these trails and you don't hear much about them, and then you just find awesome things. So
Well, that's the thing, and especially Fundy. Everybody goes to Dixon,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
totally understandable because it's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
But it is probably the most popular trail in Fundy. So we haven't done
Okay.
it in a couple of years just for that reason. But this year we discovered Matthew's Head, which was
Yes. Yeah.
spectacular. Like
Really nice
the
too.
scenery, and Caribou Plain was nice too. Again, both of them quite easy
Yeah,
for
it is.
kids. So that's nice.
Caribou Plain would be a good one in the wintertime. That's one of the ones that it's ungroomed, but it's one of the ones they have open in the wintertime for snowshoeing. So nice open views and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Awesome.
I was just going to say with Dixon Falls, how busy it is. Usually if somebody's asking for recommendations down there, I'll try and steer them away from it just because it's like everywhere. There's kind of that marquee trail that everybody goes to, but there's so much else that's like the second, third, and fourth trails that are really amazing too. So
Yeah, if you just drive a little bit further. Yeah.
yeah, or walk a little bit further.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
Or just know who to ask, which is
yeah,
why we're talking to you.
yeah, definitely. We actually, my wife and I got a chance to hike, which is the first time, the Salmon River Trail up by the headquarters, and it was the same thing. We were just amazed by the whole thing. You cross the river, and we went about halfway to Black Brook, and then took a swim in the river and hiked back. So really amazing experience too.
So outside of the park, what are some of your other top spots that you think people should be checking out?
Top spots. I'm partial to Fundy Trail Parkway because I'm on the board of directors with it. Actually, recently became the president. So
Congratulations.
in the summer month, not much going on in the winter months down there. But Walton Glen Gorge and the road getting pushed through was a big deal this year. A lot of traffic. I think it was almost double the traffic this year than it was in previous years. So some of that's COVID and some of that's opening up the road through to Sussex.
Mm-hmm.
I'm originally from the Miramichi, so I like that northern woods side of things too. So I try and get up every year to there's the Pisquit Mi'kmaq Trail is 150 kilometers from Mount Carlton across to Bathurst. I try and get up there and do sections of that every year, and then get up to Mount Carlton. I had a chance to get up to Mount Carlton again this year too. So that's some amazing hikes.
That was a place that I think is my bucket list for this coming summer, is going to finally check out Mount Carlton. Is that family friendly, that trail, do you find, or too much?
Yeah, the only thing you got to watch, it's a big loop, and when you go on the loop, I guess to the left, it goes up along a stream, but then it pops up on a rocky ridge. So you're kind of clambering a bit on the rocky ridge towards, if anybody's ever seen the fire tower that's there, which is kind of the icon of the mountain. But if you take the right-hand side, it's basically an ATV trail right up to just below the ridge where the tower is. And then it's just a quick climb up to the tower itself. So
Okay.
it can be family friendly.
Okay, excellent.
When we took the kids up there and did the loop one time, I forget what their ages were, but my youngest daughter had fear of heights and had a bit of a meltdown on one of the ridges when we were crossing over the ridges. The two youngest boys were gone, and my wife had to go catch up with them because they just took off as soon as they started climbing rocks. But I stayed behind and had to coax her across the rocky ridge. So
that would be me.
there's lots of other trails up there too.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
yeah.
I was just gonna say, like the movie Everest. I feel sick to my stomach watching the movie. So like I can't even imagine being on a mountain that's not even remotely close to the same height as Everest. And I'd be like, this is it. This is it for me.
Just sit down. That's what my daughter did, was she just sat down and like, I can't go on.
Yeah.
It's hard to get her up and moving again, but
there's one which is not in New Brunswick, but Jenna is familiar with the Skyline Trail and Cape Breton, and I got maybe 10 steps down it, and my husband had to go. I just sat on the steps. I was like, I can't do this. I'm not going any further. Like if a strong wind comes, we're gone.
Yeah. Actually, it's flipped now because we've taken the kids the last couple of years down to Mount Katahdin and tried to peak Mount Katahdin, which is about double the size of Mount Carlton. And the kids now are looking forward to when the border opens up and we can go again, because we haven't quite made it to the peak each time. We ran out of time, but it's a complete contrast to that breakdown on Mount Carlton to climbing a huge mountain and enjoying it. So it's nice to see.
So keep trying is what you're suggesting. Just try
You
harder.
can do it, Tosh. You can do it.
Push them lightly, not too hard. There are some days we got home that I didn't think the kids would ever go hiking again, but
so if families are listening that are, maybe more like me and looking for that easy in, what are some of your suggestions for that?
Lots around Moncton, like just if somebody's looking for a walk in the woods around Moncton, I usually steer them towards the Dobson Trail. I mean, there's lots in town with Mapleton Park and Centennial Park. You can rent snowshoes. I did a blog post a couple years ago on how many places there are around the province that you can rent or borrow snowshoes. I think it's 35 or 40. Even the libraries, you can sign them out, most libraries, with the library card. So any of the ones in around town are safe bets because they're kind of contained and there's lots of traffic. Dobson Trail, probably the first 2 kilometers in Riverview, and I think it's Pine Glen where it starts. That first 2 kilometers is well traveled, but if you're more adventurous, it crosses roads many places out along the way. It's 58 kilometers all the way through to Fundy Park. So we've hiked sections of it. And I noticed last night, I've been looking for one of the major lookouts that's out there. I think it's the Prosser Brook lookout. And I noticed last night that we've hiked on both sides of that section, but we haven't hiked that section yet. So
it's worth
there's
it.
lots of access points.
It's a steep hike up, but it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
It's a good one. So let's talk about hiking with kids. What do you suggest? Like if you're planning to take your kids out for the day and maybe it's going to be, it's going to be a couple hour hike. What do you pack with you?
It's definitely snacks. When I met my wife, she was wondering why I drug my kids around and didn't have many snacks packed. And I would always be wondering why they got so grumpy during the hike. So it's one thing to keep them fed and watered, and then it's to spark their interest and keep them interested, I think, is the other thing. So they don't get bored if they're younger.
Okay. I like that. So maybe even like if you plan a scavenger hunt to take along with you, like identifying trees or birds or insects or what have you.
Yeah, definitely. Stuff like that. Just looking at the world around you and kind of bringing it to their attention kind of thing. Keep them motivated.
I know in my head, I went to like make it a competition. Who can find what?
Depends on the kids. We had the full range. There's one kid that always wanted to be in the front of the line and other ones that are just kind of wandering around.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, that is a very, very tricky scenario sometimes. The few hikes we've done with ours, yes, we have that similar, like one wants to run ahead and one's trailing behind and then upset that he's trailing behind. And why are you here? And what are you making me do this for?
It's the worst day of my life.
Yeah.
Yes. We did bring lots of snacks though.
Yeah. No, that's good. No, the big thing keeping them interested too is if you can pick trails that are more like along streams or along views or stuff like that. They're not much for walking long distances to get to some of these places. So anything that's kind of consistently along a stream or something like that keeps them interested more.
That's a good point. I've had even adult friends comment on some of the hikes that became very popular over the last couple of years in social media because of that vista you get at the end, and everyone wants that iconic shot up there. Yeah. And one of my friends, who's a huge promoter of her local area, did one of those iconic hikes and went online. She was like, no, I'm telling you the truth. Getting there is so boring. She was like, people need to know, because she took her kids and she's like, people need to know it's a boring 2 hour, like, yes, the end is worth it, but oh my goodness, getting there was the most boring thing because it was not along water. There wasn't anything other than woods to look at.
Oh yeah.
She's like, if I'd known that going in.
Yeah, I see that when I try and make videos or even in podcast episodes and stuff. It's hard to fill in that gap of just the straight walking. So it's just a video of the end, and it doesn't really show the whole trail. So, and still try and make it exciting. So,
that's it. Yeah, like you mentioned, you take your recording equipment along with you when you go on some of these trails, and you put it in audio form and you put it in video form. I definitely have watched a couple of the videos before, and I think actually it was a Mount Carlton one with you following your daughter along that I had checked out. But how do you know like how to make it a long enough episode. I mean, you're getting great sound effects, you know what I mean, with you walking and stuff, but
Yeah,
how do you turn it into an entire episode?
A lot of it is just the bigger hikes. There's so much material. Like I come back with too much material kind of thing, and I can edit it down to something that kind of is coherent and has meaning. Some of the stuff I just have saved on my hard drive. I have all kinds that haven't been published because they just don't end up being a story. Like it would just be a picture of the end kind of thing. So it's editing is what it comes down to.
Yeah, exactly. The magic behind the scenes. That's
Yeah.
for sure. There's a few trails around here that you could totally tell the cool historic story that goes along with it. Like a lot of them have to do with mining or milling or what have you. So there could be some cool stories, I suppose, that come out of it, and that I think that people should go see to learn the history. Especially, I'm going to bring it back to Fundy because it's the only place that I know.
Yeah.
But there's so much history in Fundy Park before they turned it into a national park, right? Like if you went down to Point Wolf or what have you, and you can still go down that trail and see the like the old pieces of what would have been the pier before. You could definitely make it interesting that way too, if you could tell some ghost stories along with it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've done that before. A friend of mine scared the kids one time because he would read the signs about the ghost stories, and then he would kind of jump out of the woods and reenact them a bit with the kids. So that was a bit much, I think, but it made for an exciting hike. No, there's lots of history all through. I mean, the other one is the Fundy footpath goes between Fundy Park and Fundy Trail Parkway, and we've been on every section of it. We haven't hiked it from end to end yet. It's 41 kilometers plus another 10 in the park, so 50 kilometers, and it is very rugged, extreme country. So, but every time we're down there, we see stuff, or we see pictures after the fact that we were standing right beside something, didn't even see big kilns where there used to be mills, or old telegraph lines that run up some of the trails going up the hill, like how they communicated. It's just amazing history. Even in the middle of the trail is Martin Head, which is it's an island, but it's attached to the land with a gravel bar, and it has the abutment of a lighthouse and just all kinds of stuff like that. So probably not the place you're going to take kids, but if you're looking for a big adventure, there's history all along that coast. I mean, there's been stuff going on there for hundreds of years.
That's Walton Glen Gorge. To get down to that, it's not kid friendly. I've heard it's quite steep to get down, like into the eye of the needle.
It has been. I haven't been on it. There's a bunch of trail work was done this year on it, actually, to make it more friendly. It's still rugged, like you're going down into a deep ravine, and it's pretty steep, and it's pretty, but it's better than it was, I guess.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'd recommend taking young kids down there yet, though.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the teenagers would love it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of those things too, where you get to the bottom and to be able to see the eye of the needle. I've only seen pictures of it. I hadn't had a chance to see it in real life, and it's just such a. I mean, I know it's not a natural wonder, but it almost feels like it is, right?
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. No, I mean, you get down there and it's 200-foot cliffs on either side, like going up, and they're all kind of crooked and jagged, and there's a deep pool at the bottom of it. It's just, you look up and you can't really see the trees up above and stuff. It's really cool. And you go by big waterfalls and big cliffs and stuff. It's an amazing hike.
Oh, that sounds so cool.
Yeah.
I suppose we should probably get around to wrapping her up here. So we have mentioned you do videos, we've mentioned you do podcasting, and then of course the website. So how are we sending people to find you?
Best thing is hikingmb.ca website is where kind of the center of everything. So everything stems off from that. The videos are attached to the trails, and at the top is a link to the podcast. So in the podcast, I try and interview people that are involved in the trails, because there's a lot of people behind the scenes that make these trails what they are. So big shout out to them.
It's fantastic. There's so much information on that side. With, obviously 10 years, there's going to be a lot, but it's also the work you've put into it in preserving and capturing some of this, which is an amazing service for all of us here in New Brunswick. And just a nod to that, it's not just New Brunswick. When you're able to travel, you've done a lot of posts about Nova Scotia and Maine and everywhere else as well. So
PEI website is probably the next biggest one. And then I've got some stuff in the Maine too. So still a lot to upload. It's an endless process that'll go on forever.
To follow along as it does, and maybe I'll even get out and do some more of them.
Sure you will.
I will.
Fundy Park has a post yesterday that has I think they're called ski snowshoes, which are a wider. They're basically a really wide ski, short ski. So something that would be exciting to try with kids.
I did do the snowshoe of the first like kilometer. Yeah, I think it was about 1K that I did on the Dobson last year. No, 2 years ago.
Around the loop.
Last year. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And out to the fire pit and everything. And it was fantastic. It was really wonderful.
Nice.
So yeah, I'll try to do more this year, guys.
Yeah.
I promise.
You heard it, James. You heard it.
I did.
I said I'll try.
I'm gonna keep watching the
Yeah. Keep checking the Pickle Planet page to see how many hikes she gets out and does. We really want to thank you for your time, and we want to keep people posted with whatever's happening with trails in and around New Brunswick too. Even if they're not kid friendly, they're definitely cool ones to check out. And we've talked about some big trails today, but like you said, they don't all need to be done in a day. Like you mentioned the Dobson, and the Dobson can be split into many different days or what have you. So it doesn't have to be a 50-hour mission every time you go out with the kids. You can just
it can be as big as you want it to be.
Yeah.
It can be a walk in the park in town.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, well, awesome. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode. We are thrilled that you're listening. We hope you love it so much that you're going to hit the subscribe button. You're going to like, you're going to tell your friends and family.
Don't forget to leave us that very important review as well. And you can find us on all social media platforms, me as Tosh.Wood-Taylor.
And you can follow Pickle Planet Moncton on the website, Facebook, or Instagram.
Until next time, hope to see you on the trail.